nightly business report.
Good evening. Tonight, the projected 484 megawatt wind farm project in Sri Lanka was abandoned by Adani Green Energy, which could have saved the nation more than $270 million a year. With the introduction of a new roster of designers from the emerging designer platform, Colombo Fashion Week got underway yesterday evening. The fourth trading day of the week saw a fall on the Colombo Stock Exchange as evidenced by the S&P SL20 and the All Share Price Index. And while the Dow and the Nasdaq saw a tiny increase, US stocks closed the day slightly higher with the S&P 500 getting a second consecutive closing high.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. Adani Green Energy has withdrawn from its proposed 484 mega wind farm project in Sri Lanka, a move that could have saved the country over $270 million annually. This cancellation raises concerns about the nation's green economy, energy self-reliance, and foreign investment prospects.
Adani Green Energy has decided to withdraw from its proposed $1 billion renewable energy wind farm project in Mannar and Punarine, a significant blow to Sri Lanka's green economy and foreign direct investment efforts. Analysts have raised concerns over the loss of potential revenue, with some claiming Sri Lanka could lose over $1 billion, through realistic projections indicate a far greater loss in fossil fuel imports if the project does not proceed. Adani's project was expected to save Sri Lanka over $270 million annually by replacing costly fossil fuel energy with renewable power. The project, which would generate 1,500 million units of electricity per year, could have powered 0.6 million households and reduced CO2 emissions by 1.06 million tons annually. The economic benefit from the CO2 emissions was also estimated at $100 million per year. This project, financed entirely through foreign direct investment with no local bank exposure, would have reduced risk to Sri Lanka's sovereign finances. Without it, Sri Lanka risks losing a crucial opportunity to achieve energy self-reliance and accelerate its transition to clean energy.
Colombo Fashion Week kicked off yesterday evening, unveiling a fresh lineup of designers from the emerging designer platform. Over the next 2 days, these talented designers will showcase bold, innovative collections infused with a unique Sri Lankan flair.
Colombo Fashion Week presents a dynamic lineup of emerging designers redefining fashion through sustainability and innovation. The designers will showcase contemporary hoods, experimental textiles, and heritage-inspired designs, pushing boundaries on Sri Lanka's fashion scene. Mentor Sharmila Ruberu expressed her pride in nurturing the creative ideas of young designers. This season, emerging talents will share the stage with the industry veterans from Maximum Exposure. A major highlight is the Craft Fashion Fund, supporting designers who integrate traditional Sri Lankan craftsmanship into their work. CFW founder Ajay Var Singh emphasizes the importance of preserving Sri Lanka's artistic heritage while fostering modern design. With mentorship and industry guidance, CFW remains a key platform for launching the future of Sri Lankan fashion.
President Anura Kumara Dissanayake addressed the Post-Budget Forum 2025, highlighting the impact of previous financial mismanagement that led Sri Lanka into the bankruptcy and an IMF's probationary period. He emphasized that the 2025 budget lays the groundwork for a strong, stable economy with the focus on debt restructuring and improving debt repayment capacity by 2028. The government plans to increase revenue to 15.1% of gross domestic product and prioritize expenditures based on national needs. The budget aims to expand economic activities to rural areas, supporting SMEs and marginalizing groups. Education has received the highest allocation to combat rural poverty and reform education system. President Dissanayake also outlined plans to boost exports, strengthen tourism, and develop a port-centric economy. The Association of Professional Bankers Sri Lanka launched its 35th Anniversary Convention 2025 at Cinnamon Live, focusing on the role of banking in revitalizing sustainable recovery amid economic growth.
The Association of Professional Bankers Sri Lanka kicked off its 35th anniversary convention, focusing on enhancing financial resilience in today's economic landscape. The convention featured key industry contributors and experts discussing strategies for revitalizing the economy. Chief Guest Deputy Minister of Finance Dr. Harshana Surya Peruma outlined key priorities of Budget 2025, including the responsible use of public funds and building a production-driven economy. He highlighted the government's push to reduce reliance on imports and boost sectors like IT, manufacturing, and agriculture. The budget also emphasizes formalizing the economy and improving human capacity through investments in education and healthcare. Dr. Surya Peruma stressed the importance of inclusivity and equal economic opportunities for all citizens. The event concluded with the CEO's forum on navigating uncertain economic waters.
The Cabinet has approved amendments to Value-Added Tax and Inland Revenue Acts. These amendments, which were drafted based on Cabinet decisions from December last year and February this year, will soon be published in the Government Gazette. The VAT Act number 14 of 2002 and the Inland Revenue Act number 24 of 2017 have been revised with clearance from the Attorney General. The amendments are set to be submitted to the Parliament for approval following the Gazette publication. The President, in his capacity as the Minister of Finance, proposed changes to the Cabinet. The move aims to enhance the country's tax framework and support economic growth. Well, let's go in for a short commercial break. This is the Nightly Business Report. Welcome back to the Nightly Business Report. The Colombo Stock Exchange experienced a dip on the fourth trading day of the week, with both the All-Share Price Index and the S&P SL20 indices showing a decline. Weak investor confidence influenced the market sentiment, resulting in reduced activity across key sectors. Well, for further insights, we speak with Aknath Ennakon from First Capital Holdings.
Thank you, Vinod. The Colombo Stock Exchange saw some pronounced volatility as the SPI consistently fell across today's session. Though there were some signs of recovery towards the end of the session, the SPI concluded in the red, standing at 16,858, registering a drop of about 215 points. The banking sector exerted some adverse pressure on the SPI as HNB, Sampath Bank and NDB Bank were amongst the top negative contributors alongside Selinco Holdings and Melster Corp. Turnover also stayed somewhat subdued compared to yesterday at 2.9 billion rupees. This was lower than the monthly average of 5.7 billion rupees. The capital goods sector led contributions to turnover. This was followed by the banking sector and the food, beverage and tobacco segments. Thank you.
Sri Lanka's central bank saw a rise in net foreign assets reaching approximately $310 million in November last year, following foreign exchange purchases and settlements of reserve liabilities. Well, for further insights, we now join Dimantha Matthews from First Capital Holdings.
So the foreign reserves saw a dip for the second consecutive month. So in the month of January, we saw the foreign reserves level record $6.06 billion compared to what we saw in December, $6.12 billion. So about a $58 billion decline. This is the second consecutive month we are seeing this decline, because we saw a decline in the month of December as well, which was a significantly high level of decline. The first time that we started repaying foreign debt in the month of December, and if you take the month of January, we had net dollar purchases taking place by the central bank as well. So a marginal $12 million net purchase was recorded. So the decline was after the accumulation of reserves as well. So in the month of January also we can estimate that there has been some amount of debt repayments taking place. So overall, we are now seeing on a continuous basis debt repayments coming in, especially the multilateral debt has to be paid on a monthly basis. And also the economic recovery is likely to reduce the balance of payments plus that we are continuing to record as well. So the accumulation of reserves going forward is likely to be limited. However, we feel that foreign reserves needs to be accumulated, because there is an IMF target of $7 billion as well. So with that, we feel that though it's difficult with the interest rate fluctuation and the floating rupee that is there in the market, we can manage the economic situation and continue the accumulation of dollars. Thank you.
Meanwhile, gold prices surged in Asian trade today, briefly hitting a record high as safe haven demand soared. Spot gold rose by 0.3%, reaching $2,940.96 an ounce and peaked at $2,947.23 earlier in the session. Gold futures for April delivery also gained 0.2%, reaching $2,957.80 an ounce. The rally was driven by US President Donald Trump's threats of additional trade tariffs, sparking investor concerns. However, gains were capped by a stronger dollar following hawkish signals from the Federal Reserve's January meeting minutes. Also, oil prices changed marginally today after reaching near one-week high in the previous session. Brent futures fell by 15 cents, settling for $75.89 per barrel, while US West Texas Intermediate crude dropped 34 cents to $71.91. The market was pressured by an industry report showing a significant rise in US crude stockpiles. According to figures from the American Petroleum Institute, United States crude stocks rose by 3.34 million barrels last week. The increase in inventory raised concerns about oversupply, which weighed on oil prices. The Sri Lankan rupee has further depreciated against the United States dollar at commercial banks today in comparison to yesterday. According to Commercial Bank, both the buying and selling rates of the US dollar have risen. Let's now take a closer look at how the Sri Lankan rupee is faring against other major global currencies. A short break now. This is the Nightly Business Report. Welcome back to the Nightly Business Report. National Savings Bank and Lanka Rating Agency Limited have announced a significant milestone, with NSB achieving an impressive AAA rating. This achievement highlights NSB's strong financial position and stability, reinforcing its role as a leading financial institution in Sri Lanka. And for further insights, we now speak with Imran Akbar from the Lanka Rating Agency.
Thank you, Vinod. Amana Bank has been rated BBB+ by Lanka Rating Agency, reflecting its good creditworthiness. As a rating agency, our responsibility is to provide an independent opinion on the creditworthiness of the entities. It is important to clarify that we do not promote or endorse any investments, but instead offer an objective assessment based on our methodology, which consists of both qualitative and quantitative analysis. Creditworthiness in the context of an entity or bank reflects its ability to meet financial obligation in a timely manner and sustain confidence among stakeholders. A bank with a strong credit fundamental is typically regarded as resilient to economic fluctuations and capable of maintaining long-term financial stability while fulfilling its commitment to depositors and creditors. Amana Bank's rating reflects strong asset quality, strengthened capitalization, sustained growth and performance over the years when compared to other banks in its category. Amana Bank is licensed and operates as a fully fledged Islamic bank in Sri Lanka, the only bank in this space. The bank draws strength and strategic guidance from its financially sound corporate sponsor, Islamic Development Bank Group, with over 28% shareholding. The bank has relatively low ADR of 72% but maintains robust asset quality, with non-performing loan ratio of 3.9% in September 24, well below sector average. The capital adequacy ratio and Tier 1 were recorded at 18.1% and 15.4% respectively. In September 24, implying adequate capital buffer after completion of the recent rights issue, the bank posted profit after tax of 763 million during September 24, and it is expected to sustain its profitability. In conclusion, our BBB+ rating signifies the good credit quality of Amana Bank, and we will continue to monitor it closely. Any adverse impact or capital-related regulatory ratios or deterioration in the asset quality can impact the rating opinion.
Nexus Communications has expanded its portfolio in Sri Lanka with Blackview smartphones, tablets and laptops. Under the leadership of Rajiv Gunaratne, the company offers products backed by an 18-month warranty and a Snap Pay installment plan for easy accessibility. Nexus aims to provide quality customer service with plans to open a new service center in Rajgiriya. Gunaratne emphasized the company's mission to deliver durable, affordable technology to Sri Lankans with Blackview as an ideal partner. Blackview's global growth with a customer base spanning 80 countries has led to steady sales increases. Through this collaboration, Nexus and Blackview are setting the stage for innovative, accessible tech in Sri Lanka. Allianz Finance Company plc, the pioneer and leader in sustainable finance, proudly announces the issuance of Sri Lanka's first green bond by a non-banking financial institution.
Allianz Finance Company has reinforced its commitment to Sri Lanka's green economy by issuing the country's first green bond by non-banking financial institution. The bond proceeds with allocated exclusively to projects focused on environmental sustainability such as renewable energy, clean transportation and energy efficiency. AFC's triple bottom line philosophy of balancing people, planet and profit aligns with national and global sustainability goals. The fund raised will be support solar power projects, energy efficiency enhancements and the development of the local solar equipment supply chain. This initiative is a part of AFC's broad effort to reduce Sri Lanka's carbon footprint and contribute to the nation's targets under the Paris Agreement and the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. With over 68 years of experience in responsible finance, AFC continues to lead the way in promoting sustainable practices. The Green Bond issue marks a significant step in accelerating the country's transition to a low-carbon, climate-resilient future.
Hales Solar, the renewable energy arm of Hales Fentons Limited, has completed Sri Lanka's largest rooftop solar photovoltaic system, a 6.9 megawatt installation for Access Logistics Private Limited in Negombo. The project, completed in just 3.5 months, includes 11,609 solar panels, 20 investors and 2 smart transformer stations, marking the first use of smart transformer technology in Sri Lanka's rooftop solar sector. The system is expected to offset 7,088 tons of CO annually, advancing both Access Logistics' green energy goals and Sri Lanka's renewable energy landscape. Hales Solar expertise in executing large-scale projects quickly and efficiently has been key to the success of this groundbreaking initiative. Access Logistics Director Srimal Fernando praised the project's execution and its contribution to the country's sustainable goals. Hales Solar CEO Roshan Pereira highlighted the importance of the project as a significant step towards a sustainable future for the country. The Institute of Chartered Accountants of Sri Lanka hosted its annual Budget Seminar 2025, featuring expert discussions on the government's budget proposals. Dr. Harshana Surya Peruma, who is the Deputy Minister of Finance, delivered the keynote address exploring the nation's fiscal future.
The Institute of Chartered Accountants of Sri Lanka hosted its annual Budget Seminar 2025, focusing on the national fiscal trajectory and government's key budget proposals. CS Sri Lanka President Mr. Heshana Kurupu emphasized the importance of financial governance, public sector efficiency and regulatory improvements for economic growth. He reaffirmed CS Sri Lanka's commitment to assisting the government, particularly in strengthening the governance of state-owned enterprises. Mr. Kurupu also advocated that for integration of CS Sri Lanka's Chartered Public Finance Accountant qualification into public sector recruitment to address skill gaps. In his keynote address, Dr. Harshana Surya Peruma, Deputy Minister of Finance, highlighted the government's focus on fiscal discipline and restoring public confidence in tax governance. He also outlined key measures such as creation of a holding company for SOEs and digital transformation initiatives to enhance economic connectivity. Dr. Surya Peruma urged collective action and out-of-the-box thinking to propel Sri Lanka's economy to the next level.
Aitken Spence recently hosted its first flagship disaster risk reduction program, focusing on building resilience and enhancing disaster response strategies. The event emphasized the need for proactive approaches to disaster risk, both natural and man-made, and the growing climate emergency. Special guests including Mr. Firsan Hashim of the Asia Pacific Alliance for Disaster Management Sri Lanka and Mr. Anoja Senaviratne of the Disaster Management Centre contributed to key discussions. A highlight of the event was the launch of Aitken Spence Disaster Impact Map, available on their website to raise awareness on natural disasters and their impact on Sri Lanka. The event also featured a panel discussion on fostering collaboration to build resilience with leaders from Aitken Spence and the World Bank. Through this initiative, Aitken Spence reaffirmed its commitment to disaster risk reduction and strategic resilience, building within the private sector. Let's take a short commercial break. Global business updates coming on the other side. This is the Nightly Business Report. Welcome back to the Nightly Business Report. Most Asian stocks declined today amid ongoing concerns about high US interest rates and rising trade tariffs. Hong Kong markets faced significant losses as an artificial intelligence-driven rally lost momentum. Despite Wall Street's mild positive close with the S&P 500 hitting a record high, regional markets struggled with reduced risk appetite. US tariff comments rattled trade-sensitive markets with Japan's Nikkei 225 dropping 1.7% and Toyota and Honda shares sliding over 2%. South Korea's Kospi fell 0.6%, while Singapore's Straits Times Index dropped 0.1%. Australia's ASX 200 fell by 1.3%, pressured by stronger than expected January employment data and concerns over US tariffs on commodity exports. US stocks ended modestly higher, with the S&P 500 marking a second straight closing high, while the Dow and the Nasdaq ticked up slightly.
U.S. stocks ended modestly higher on Wednesday, with the S&P 500 gaining about 0.25% to notch its second straight closing high, while the Dow and Nasdaq ticked up slightly. Minutes from the Federal Reserve's January policy meeting reflected concerns about the potential effect of President Donald Trump's policy proposals, particularly tariffs, on the central bank's efforts to bring inflation down to its 2% target. Fourth quarter earnings season is winding down, with 74% of S&P 500 companies having posted better than expected results, according to LSEG. That included Analog Devices, shares of which gained 9.7% on Wednesday after the chipmaker beat quarterly profit and revenue estimates. Specialty chemicals company Celanese tumbled 21.5% after reporting a quarterly loss. Shares of Shift4 slid 17.5% following its fourth quarter results, and on news that the payments processor has agreed to buy Global Blue in a deal valued at $2.5 billion. Shares of Global Blue jumped 17.5%. And electric truck maker Nikola plunged more than 39% in the wake of its filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection.
Microsoft unveiled a new chip that it said showed quantum computing is years, not decades away, joining Google and IBM in predicting that a fundamental change in computing technology is much closer than recently believed.
Microsoft says it has created a new chip that shows quantum computing is much closer than recently believed. Quantum computers hold the promise of carrying out calculations that would take today's systems millions of years. But the fundamental building block of quantum computers, called a qubit, is extremely difficult to control and prone to errors. Microsoft says its Majorana 1 chip is less prone to those errors than rivals, providing as proof a scientific paper set to be published in academic journal Nature. The chip has been in the works for nearly 2 decades and has a new type of material. Google last year showed off its own new quantum chip, saying that commercial applications are only 5 years away. IBM said large-scale quantum computers will be online by 2033. Microsoft did not give a timeline for when its chip would be scaled up to quantum computers that can outpace today's machines, but in a blog post, the company said it would be, quote, years, not decades.
That's all from us on the Nightly Business Report for today. We will see you again tomorrow with the latest updates in the Business Globe. Until then, I'm Vinod Vanasuriya. Thank you for watching and have a good night.